Now they lost it on the 40 acres on campus grounds. We gather round, discussing goals and dreams and life's adventures. The Texas Longhorns, they the talk of the town. High castles of the 40 acres, where we dive deep into the game day stories. From touchdowns to heartbreakers, we discuss it all. Texas Longhorns glory. There we gather round each Thursday night, talking sports, it's so alright. From football to basketball, baseball to softball, Tim Wayne and Irish, we cover it all. Sports talk is our passion, our delight. Thursday night at 8:30, we unite. We discuss the scores, the plays, the teams who might. Let's dive into the game, let's ignite.
12 conference champions.
Good evening. What up? What up? What up? We are back, the Texas Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. Sorry about my absence last week. Had a little vacation week as we get ready for the season, the last big vacation before the madness begins. Of course, my name's Harish. I'm here with my guy Tim Wayne. Tim Wayne, how you doing tonight, man?
Man, my feelings is hurt, but hey, man, next man up. That's what this podcast should be named. Next man up.
Yeah, the injury bug definitely hits the 40. We'll talk all about that. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll talk about the CJ Baxter injury, of course, which is where we'll lead the show. We'll get into some recruiting stuff, some good news, some bad news, and we'll kind of what's to come, because recruiting is about to hit real heavy here. Michael Fasusi this weekend, Jamie French here a couple weeks. We've still got a couple other guys that are some huge commits coming down the road. So we've got a lot to discuss on the recruiting front. Texas does move up after the Khalil Lockett commit yesterday. They do move up a few spots ahead of OU, ahead of A&M, ahead of a couple guys. So we'll talk through that. And then we've got to preview the four, honestly, the two of the three biggest games of the season. And so a part 2 of our training preview, where we look at 4 games a week. So we'll look at 4-3 we'll look at the main 4 this week, and then we'll finish out with the final 5 next week, and then start to look at college football playoffs the 2 week after that. So,
Yep.
But hey, before we get started, we have bills to pay, so let's go and knock that out the way. Fan Battles, if I can click it. I don't know what's going on. There we go. FanBattleSports.com, FanBattleSports.com, where you can get the latest and greatest on the Titans, Texans, Colts, and Jaguars. And, of course, us. We're going to start writing some articles. FanBattleSports.com. Also, if you're interested in starting your own show, hit us up on the contact us link. Fill out all the information. It gets sent to us. We'll set you up with everything you need. FanBattleSports.com.
Yep.
Follow us on Twitter at LH Fan Battle. We're still trying to do. We are supposed to do a college football 25 giveaway, and we're still working through that. Actually, it might be. I think we might be able to start getting that set up here really soon. I'm waiting on one little smidge to get that set up.
Okay.
But as soon as we get that, we will get that out there. But follow us on Twitter. It'll also be important for you to follow us on the YouTube channels. At YouTube, we are live every Thursday. We do post videos. We are also, I will also be recording part 2 of the Arch Manning 3-Star Challenge. We're taking Arch Manning through recruiting and trying to win a national title with Texas before he heads off to the NFL. With the new recruiting updates in college football 25 today. Oof, it is. I don't know if you jumped into recruiting in the game, but it is hard.
It's hard now.
Hard. It is really hard.
I'm
so
happy that they.
It's a dogfight.
I'm so glad that they fixed that. There was a ton of fixes that came out. I'm really happy.
Huge patch today for college football 25. Also, if you're playing the game, pursuit angles that were fixed. Run gaps on running plays were fixed. There's a lot of like big gameplay stuff, a lot of recruiting stuff, a lot of dynasty stuff in general. Top 25 polls were fixed and they look accurate. So that was good. Lots of really good stuff. There's still some funky things here and there that hopefully they put out without. There's nothing that they can't fix without a hot fix. Right. Like 2 very minor big things, right? So, but anyway, follow us on the YouTubes. We go live every Thursday. We have content on the TikTok as well. So hit us up. Working on some stuff to get set up so we can continue what should be a great season for us. So, right. But follow us on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe to the video as you're there, and if you want to see your comments here on the live show, live comment on the Twitter account or on the YouTube account, and we will show your comment here. Absolutely. All right, Tim. Let's get to rolling. So. Give credit to our guy, Anwar Richardson. Reported yesterday that CJ Baxter suffered. Actually, now at this point, it's been 2 days ago, so it was Tuesday. He suffered a knee injury during practice. So a couple of things during the new injury. It was while he was being tackled. It was in live play, and he ends up getting carted off the field. Yesterday, it reveals that he ends up. It's not an ACL, which I thought was interesting. It's actually his PCL and his LCL. So he tears those. And he obviously season it, regardless if it was ACL or not, season-ending surgery occurs. And so he will be out for the season. Let's kind of talk about this real quick. I know the bigger question is what happens next, right? But I think first off, let's kind of dissect this down. This is now the second straight year where he kind of, I wouldn't say a major injury, but last year he did have an injury early, the first game of the season, and knocked him out for almost a half of the season.
Right.
Talking about CJ Baxter real quick, and before we move on, prayers to him. Hopefully, obviously hoping for a speedy recovery. 5-star guy. What are your thoughts on what he does from here, and kind of before we dig into what's next, what are your thoughts on just CJ specifically and his current situation?
It's an unfortunate situation. CJ Baxter, coming into this year, was nominated along with Jaden Blue to be voted one of the best running back groups in the country. They were also, I forget the name of the award because there's so many. It's not the Davy O'Brien. Quinn was nominated for the Davy. I want to say was it Davy or Doker? Either way, they were both nominated and put on the list to be voted possibly one of the best backs in the country.
Talking about Doak Walker?
Doak Walker. There we go. The Doak Walker. Yeah. Which is a big time. It's a big time award. Outside of the Heisman, it is basically saying, hey, like this guy is the best guy in the country at running back. Usually if you win the Heisman as a running back, you probably get that award as well, unless there's just some really outstanding type of situation. But unfortunately, we kind of had the same thing last year, right? It wasn't as big of an injury um, as it is now. CJ he was banged up. He had some rib injury. He had a rib situation. He also had a bruised. I want to say it was either a bruised hamstring or a bruised calf, one of those. But luckily he was able to bounce back from it. Right. We lost Jonathan Brooks earlier in the season, which was a bell cow for us, and CJ stepped up. And even though he was nicked up, he was still very, very effective. So I'm hoping with the situation that we have here. Luckily, CJ didn't tear his ACL. He tore his LCO, which is his lateral collateral ligament, and then the PCL, which is the posterior curricular. I don't want to butcher it, but it's a ligament that it's not necessarily the ACL. The ACL is also very, very important, but the PCL and the LCL are both, they're not minor ligaments because it's a lateral ligament with the LCL. I don't want to turn into Dr. Quinn, but basically it's something that he could come back from. I'm just glad that he didn't tear all three. 2 of the 3 is better than all 3. So again, it's the next man up in a situation. And I just kind of, my question for you, Harish, is like, with the situation that we're in right now, like, how do you feel about the running backs? Because to me, this affects a lot of stuff, right? You're going to need to be able to run the ball against these next 4 teams, right? To be successful, I feel like that is going to be a very big focal point, especially against a team like Georgia. You want to be able to control the ball in the line of scrimmage. So how do you feel with this injury to CJ Baxter? What are your thoughts and how are you feeling right now? Okay.
I don't want to sound like, well, 2 things. I don't want to sound like arrogant. Okay. I also don't want to sound insensitive. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm not concerned at all.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I think Jaden Blue was going to end up being the better back of the 2 anyway. Just like I thought Jonathan Brooks was going to be the better back of the 2 anyway last year. And right. When I said that on the show, I was like, I think Jonathan Brooks is better. He's going to end up taking the starting job, which he did, right? Obviously, into an unfortunate, same thing, right? An unfortunate situation. But have a guy like CJ Baxter, right? And CJ last year, he was just a true freshman. And that was the bigger reason why I thought Jonathan Brooks would be better out, because he'd been in the system. He understands the coaching, he understands the system, the scheme. He didn't have to worry about all that. Jaden Blue, likewise, also doesn't have to worry about any of that. He's been in the system. He understands the scheme. He understands his role. He's got trust from the coaching staff. Like, we're going to just find that running back, right?
Right.
The guys behind Jaden Blue that I think will be fine. Jarrett Gibson is the name that I think going to be a big name to look out for now. Right. He's the true freshman coming in from the state of Florida. Right. I believe 4-star running back. That guy is going to be good. Now, if you're talking about, thunder and lightning, which is what CJ Baxter and Jaden Blue were supposed to be, you could still get that with Jarrett Gibson, because that dude's a big guy. He's a big guy. He runs big. He's going to be able to do some stuff out of the backfield. This running back room is just so deep that I'm just not concerned with how. Again, I'm not trying to undermine the loss of CJ Baxter. I'm just not as concerned. Also, if you look at how this offense, Sark is always going to find a way to have 1,000-yard receiving or 1,000-yard rushing back, right? So he will find a way to get one of these 4 guys, whether it's Blue, whether it's Jarrett Gibson, whether it's, Trey Wisner, which I don't, if anybody's like role elevates, it's going to be Trey Wisner, right? Trey Wisner kind of coming in, being in that Keelan Robinson role. So he's the guy that might elevate his role in a way. Right. Also, you got to keep in mind, he's got so many receivers. So he's got to be able to use all these guys in different ways that he was probably already going to do anyway. Right. Man. And he also got the 2 freshman Christian Clark. So I'm not worried. Like, it's a big loss, right? But
Yeah,
there's just so much talent on this team. I'm just
right.
not worried.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think about, and I know this is gonna sound nuts, but I think about the situation where Savion Red, he transfers out right after the spring game. He had a couple of plays. He caught a
Yeah.
couple of really good catches from Arch during spring practice. So I'm looking at the running back situation. I'm like, man, this is really a really good situation. And Savion he was once a wide receiver that transitioned over to running back, and he did get touches. And when he touched the ball, I mean, at one point in time, I know for a fact, me and you were talking about, we were like, dog, Savion needs to touch the ball more. And like it's
A little
and
bit
now
more.
yeah, and so now CJ Baxter goes down, and I kind of think back like, dog, if Savion Red was here and he was still an intricate part of the offense, because again, did they use Savion Red in gadget plays and stuff like that? Absolutely. But when he touched the ball, he was moving. It wasn't like he wasn't one of those guys that was like a decoy. Like, you knew for a fact that if Savion Red was on the field, you knew he was going to get the ball. And so
Like,
now
with
that
some kind of touch.
right, and now that he's at Nevada, we don't necessarily have that. Now, you did mention mention Wisner, and you also mentioned Jaden Blue. Now, the only reason why I feel a certain type of way, I understand where you're coming from, where you're like, hey, I'm not worried about this situation. It's not that I'm not worried about the situation. I'm such a CJ Baxter fan, and I felt like he was
You
primed to
love
have.
CJ Baxter.
He's a big dude. He's a typical University of Texas back. He's 6'1". He's 220. He's a one cut back. He can catch. He kind of reminds me of a little bit, like he's a little bit smaller than Cedric Benson, but that's what he kind of reminds me of. Like, he can like Cedric Benson, God rest his soul, he could literally do it all. He could catch the ball, he could step up, he could pick up blitzes, he could he could uh he could do a number of things, and he was just your all-around typical back. And that's what I felt like we had gotten away from a while. And don't get me wrong, we've had some special backs, right? I felt like, like we've had the Jonathan Grays and Timothy Warrens of the world, and they were all really good for what we needed at the time. But I don't feel like we've had super all around back. And I feel like when having CJ Baxter was that guy.
Yeah, I think CJ Baxter had the potential to be that guy, and he still does, right? I mean, he's going to get the offseason. He's going to come back next year. I feel bad for the guy because he already did this last offseason, right? And now he's having to do it over again. And, Chance Mock talked about this, and we've had Chance on the show before, and he talked, obviously, coming and playing in college and going through this. It's like you mentally prepare yourself, you physically prepare yourself to get ready for the season that's about to happen. And then something like this happens, and everything that you worked for kind of goes down the drain, right? So you feel bad for the guy. I just also we're talking about, let's just be honest here, right? Even at the NFL level, it's like this: the least valuable position on the football field. That's just how it is.
I mean, okay, to be fair,
that's just how it is. It is the least valued position on the football field.
Currently on the roster, there are 8 running backs. That's including Nick Sanders from Waco, who was he was a standout in high school. He was also a baseball guy. Reed Watkins, Colin Page, of course, Weiner, Jaden Blue, Jared Gibson, Christian Clark, who is
he's the running back out of Arizona, and that guy's going
back out of Arizona. He is from Mountain Point. He's supposed to be really, really special. I hadn't really heard much on him. I just remember when he committed, I didn't know that he was the guy. I didn't know that was a thing. So for him to be there, there's a lot of depth. I mean, maybe it's a running back by committee. I don't necessarily know. But when you have that many running backs on the roster, again, it is, like I stated, it's kind of more of that next man up. You have to treat this nowadays. You have to treat this like the NFL. If you don't, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Is it unfortunate that CJ Baxter got injured the first year that he was going to be in the SEC? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I think in the way modern day medicine is had, thank God I haven't had any super major injuries. I've had a really bad bruised tailbone. I've hyperextended my ankle, and I've had a couple of cracked ribs. Nothing super crazy though. Those are not like they weren't like shattered, but just like a hairline fracture. There's nothing you can do. That's a situation where you just have to sit out and you have to heal. There's nothing else that you can do to that. With this injury that's been sustained by CJ Baxter, he's going to be isolated. I'm hoping that he doesn't get into a situation kind of like when Jordan Whittington. You remember Jordan Whittington got injured. He felt isolated. They asked him to gain weight. He didn't necessarily like it. It wasn't working with him, and he was nicked up. He was nicked up a lot.
Yeah. I think it's under a different regime, though. I don't think isolation is going to be an issue. Coach Sark doesn't run a culture of like that.
I hope not.
So I don't think isolation.
Right, and that's you just don't want your players to be in. That's to be out for a season. That's a lonely feeling, dog. Like,
yeah,
I imagine he's still going to travel with the team and things like that. But a lot of the time, he's going to be by himself rehabbing.
Yeah, right. For sure. So it's also a mental game, right? It's not physicals. The physical piece of it is just, hey, you just gotta wait it out, bro, and you gotta rehabilitate your like that. Like I've seen like some of the treatments for ACLs, and they are brutal. If y'all watch, who was it that just came back from an ACL recently, and it was on TV? I think it was on receiver. No. I think it was on receiver. Like I'm talking like recent. It was on receiver. I can't remember who it was. I think one of the receivers just came back from like an Achilles or an ACL, and they were like rehabbing him. And rehabbing was like, one of the things they did, you sit on the board and then like push your knee all the way in, and they're like really testing like your knee, right? And
I've seen I've seen some really.
And it's painful to watch.
Yeah, I'm like, an exercise ball. Yeah. I've seen them get in there and like do some resistance training with resistance bands, and they gradually go up, and they try to basically instill confidence back into that knee because, dude, you don't know. Like I've hyperextended my knee. That is a scary feeling. That is to hyperextend your knee. That's just one thing, but to completely tear it is like that's another thing. So again, speedy recovery. I definitely think with the situation at hand, I think we are in good hands. I do hate that Savion Red decided to leave. I felt like I would be a lot more. I would be more confident in this situation, just because there's we know what Jaden Blue can do. We kind of know what Wisner can do. We kind of got an understanding of what he can do coming in out of a sophomore. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Coming out of DeSoto, he played IMG. He looked amazing. He was Windsor or Wisner. I don't ever know how to.
Yeah,
he looked great. I am excited that maybe we get another guy. Maybe there's another guy that pops. Who knows? Maybe
Jared Gibson. That's the one to look out for. Jared Gibson.
You think Jared Gibson is the guy?
Jared Gibson is really good.
Okay.
And he's got the size. And he's very similar to CJ Baxter. He is also another guy that is very Texas running back driven.
Yeah, I mean he's 5'11", 205. Who is he? The speed? Is he the burner?
No, he's the bruiser from the IMG Academy. Jared Gibson is a big boy. I'm shocked.
Gibson from IMG. My bad.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's only 5'11". I thought he was at least 6'1", 6'2".
Nah, man, I did see a lot of his highlights. Actually, I did see though, and he is a
tank.
He runs hard.
If you're looking for like the bell cow, quote unquote. And the way I think about bell cow now in Sark's offense, because Sark doesn't have a bell cow, right? He uses everybody in the backfield, but he will
Everybody
get
is,
that yard rusher, right?
yeah,
If there's a guy that he's going to use in critical situations, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, things like that, 4th and 1, Jared Gibson's going to be your guy.
right.
That's going to be
Yeah,
your bruiser.
yeah.
My prediction is that's going to be your bruiser. But Jaden Blue, Jaden Blue runs big too.
I think Jaden Blue can do it. I listen. I like Jaden Blue coming off the bench because Jaden Blue was a great change of pace. Not that CJ Baxter couldn't run. He could definitely run, but it was something about Jaden Blue after having to deal with CJ Baxter. It's like I don't know, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I just remember watching these games, and CJ Baxter, he might get like 4 or 5 carries out of a series. He might give you a nice screen. He might give you a couple moves out in the open because he was definitely good for that. He might hit, up the gut. He was definitely good up the gut. They ran a draw play that always seemed to work, no matter what. CJ Baxter is really good at making people miss. He's also really good at utilizing the stiff arm and the spin move. Again, that just kind of shows you what kind of back we're dealing with. But when Jaden Blue stepped on the field, it just seems like to me that after dealing with CJ Baxter, it just seemed like Jaden Blue could just come in there and just clean up and rack up yardage. It could be a RPO, again, a certain type of. We know Sark is really good at coming up with some type of screen, maybe a pitch, something of that nature, and it always looked great. He always seemed to get these big chunk plays, and I think that's what made him special. And then what they would do is they would let him get those chunk plays again, maybe throw him a couple passes, let him go get some rest, hit the water, get the first break, bang. Now you got to deal with CJ again. Now you're gassed. Now you got to deal with CJ, and CJ's the big guy, right? So now you don't nobody want to tackle that guy after they ran 30 yards down the field. Nobody wants to do that. You got a brand new set of downs. You either got it, especially if Sark runs an up-tempo thing, which I think he will do this year. I think we're going to see more of an up-tempo situation, especially playing against these SEC defenses. I think that is something that he is going to utilize to his advantage. Packages on packages on packages. We're going to see so many different players and so many different packages. It's going to be nuts. We've got 7 legitimate wide receivers right now. All of them are going to see the field. He's already made this very evident in his presser after SEC media days and during SEC media days. I feel that he is going to pick up the pace. I just feel like that is it's going to work out to our strength to move the ball, to move the tempo a lot faster.
Yeah, and I think that's the other piece, right? You've got all these wide receivers. He's got to put them in a lot of different situations. There's a lot of speed at the wide receiver position too. So we're going to be fine. Again, CJ Baxter is a big loss. Now, is it such a big loss that you lose 2 games? No,
I don't think it's that. I don't feel like it affects the record. Now, we're gonna really see how Jaden Blue works if he's gonna be an every down guy type of guy. We're really gonna see that. Do you think it's gonna be do you think what we're gonna be going into by committee while we move on to the next thing? Do you think that this will be a running back by committee situation, or do you think that now that CJ Baxter is not in the mix currently for this year, do you think Jaden Blue actually ends up being more of the bell cow situation?
I think it'll end up going that way. I think Jaden Blue will be 1,000-yard guy. Again, Stark always has 1,000-yard back. He always does. Yeah. No matter how good or how bad the back is, he always has 1,000-yard back. And he always has a quarterback in year 3 that's an absolute baller. So we've got both of those guys. It's going to happen. Jaden Blue, 1,000-yard back. Quinn Ewers still going to ball out. Sark just has so many options. It sucks. Mm-hmm. It's not the end of the world.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Well,
all right,
let's move on to something a little bit more positive.
We'll start positive because we need some
start,
positive.
Yeah, we'll start positive and then end negatively.
Yep.
Over the last couple of days, we happened to snag Khalid Lockett, which is one of 5 major prospects that Texas is currently looking to get. He signs. He's the number 2 wide receiver coming in the next year. This is a big get. Khalid was linked to so many different schools. Ohio State, Alabama. I know A&M was taking shots at him. I forget who he ended up making his final 3. Was it Alabama?
Yeah,
Texas.
I think it really came down to Alabama and Texas.
Yeah.
But there were snippets that there's some other schools that were involved there.
Yeah.
LSU,
Yeah.
Auburn. There are winks of like A&M, but I don't think that was really serious. I think that was just like jokes, right? But really, the recruiting battle was Alabama, Texas, and Florida State were the 3 that were like the big ones.
That's the other guy. Listen, Florida State is they trying to do some work over here.
He's not a bad coach. He's a great recruiter. He's not a bad coach.
Right.
They get DJ. Oh no, yeah, they get DJ Uyunglele, right?
Yep.
And so he's down there at Florida State, I believe, and I'm very interested to see how this Florida State team coming off the disappointment of last year, and then not carrying the whole season. I'm very interested in Florida State. They're rated very high.
I'm going to give you a small preview. I think Florida State is in the ACC championship.
I don't think you're shocking anybody by saying that.
I think they're going to shock a lot of people. I think they could do, if Florida State always plays the SEC team at the beginning of the year. I think they could pull it off, dog. If it's anybody, I think it's Florida State that can pull it off. Florida State they look ready, dog. They look more dangerous now than even at this time last year. And we didn't really know. They got more experience. Now did they lose some key pieces? Absolutely. But they look ready right now. They look like they are prime. I would not be surprised. Like I'm gonna look a little bit more into it, but I think they might mess around and end up in a playoff, dude. The way that they look, I could see them in a playoff. So yeah, it's just
if they win the ACC, they will be in the playoff. Like I think they will win the ACC. Actually, I think they'll win the ACC pretty comfortably. Like I don't think the ACC is that good. I'm still not convinced with Cade Klubnik. Right, you got to see him take a step.
I'm not convinced with him either.
Miami's interesting. I think Miami's the interesting, sexy pick because of Cam Ward and what they're doing down there. Right. But again, the ACC it's been so top heavy for so long that there's not a team here. I'm just like, dang, that could be trouble. I mean, you look at Florida State's schedule. Mm-hmm. They play Clemson at home. They go to Miami. North Carolina's interesting. Just because I don't know what Mac Brown does after Drake May leaves. That's the big thing with North Carolina. Right. What does it look like post Drake May? I mean, he couldn't get it done with Drake May. Right. So what does it look like after? So that's probably something to look out for. Duke loses Mike Elko to Weirdo A&M, so I mean, not really worried about them. They're rebuilding. Well, actually, Malik Murphy's there, so we'll see how that goes, right?
Right.
I think Florida State actually wins the ACC pretty comfortably.
I definitely think so.
That's something we talk about in our preview show, but I'm not. But yeah, we can talk about that in the preview show. But I'm not worried about anybody in the ACC to beat Florida State, honestly.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think Florida State I think Florida State recruiting wise, and we'll get back to Khalid here, but I think they have been really, really in the mix with a lot of these guys. A lot of these 5-star guys, a lot of these big time transfers, just in the mix, and a lot of like it took me to see Khalik do his commitment yesterday, and to see that Florida State hat on. I was like, what is Florida State doing? Like, what do they got going on? Like,
did you see the hat he had out there? The hat that they gave him? That thing was ugly.
Yeah, it was not a good hat. It was not a good hat.
So I knew. I mean, we've been hearing, right? When you have that many schools that you're deciding between, the two schools on the outside, you ain't deciding between them, bro. They're just there for show and tell. Right?
They're there because you want to make sure that they're in the mix.
Right. There's, just to create controversy. And these guys, this has been the most like dramatic recruiting class I think I've ever seen. Decoring Moore doing the fireworks. Other guys just doing like weird. I think Khalil Lockett calls Chris Jackson on FaceTime.
He does.
Which I thought was kind of weird. I thought that was like, are we doing any tampering here? Like, I don't know if this is like illegal, but that was kind of weird. And then Chris Jackson almost doesn't answer the phone. So now you're like, what? So if he doesn't answer the phone, does he move on to somebody else? Like, that would be kind of awkward. So it's been the most dramatic class. Yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, the guy is 3 hours from where you are, Saxe, Texas. They had to nail this guy after losing to Corey Moore. They had to land Khalil Lockett. So one of the two beasts are down. You wait for Jamie French, which I believe is in a couple weeks here. He's really down to Miami, Texas.
The end of the year. I mean, I'm sorry, not the end of the year. The end of the month.
Literally last week of August, right? So
right before the first game, actually.
Yeah.
That same weekend.
Let me look. I don't know if it's the 30th.
It's the 28th, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is it the 28th?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, and so Jamie French is going to be big. He's obviously from Florida. Right. Yeah, it looks like the 28th, 30th. It's that last week, though, the week of the first game. So
the week of that first game. Yeah, for sure.
If you nail those two, all of a sudden,
now things get real interesting because
now things get really interesting. You have two stud wide receivers to go along with the rest of this class. Texas has moved up to 13 according to On3 in the recruiting rankings. They get Smith and Rugbo a couple of weeks ago. They get KJ Lacey staying, Nick Townsend, Cade Phillips. This class is slowly starting to come together. Josiah Sharma flips randomly last week, which is or a couple weeks ago, which was kind of crazy. So it's slowly starting to come together. So very, very interesting. On the flip side to this, the big loss in recruiting was DJ Sanders. And not only is DJ Sanders a big loss, he's the 5-star defensive tackle out of Belleville. Wow. He goes to freaking A&M, man. And it's like, how are we getting stuffed in a locker by Mike Oko? Literally. Now, this one is kind of concerning for a couple reasons.
This is very concerning.
For a couple reasons.
You go ahead first. I'll let you do your thing. I think mine is like a little bit. It's going to be more geared towards the future of recruiting. So you go ahead first. I want to hear what you got to say.
There's a couple things here, right? Number one, it's concerning from the standpoint that we couldn't seal the deal on this one, right?
Right.
Number two, it's the position of need. Huge
Absolutely.
Position. Defensive tackle. This was the one guy in this class I really wanted to get.
Yep.
But we talked to some people today, and contrary to what we've heard about some other guys, this one was just one of those where it's like Kenny Baker got into the fold too late, right? Didn't have enough time. It goes back to relationship building. Texas kind of jumped into the battle late, and it was actually surprising that they were in the battle as much as they were.
Right.
But he ends up going to A&M, and we think where Belleville is, it's close to A&M. It's like maybe an hour away from A&M.
Yeah. Belleville is not that far from A&M.
I drove through Belleville last week on my way home from Houston. It's like maybe an hour from A&M, and so it's Yeah, it's probably going to be, that's probably more centered to what it is. I honestly don't think that recruitment is over. Listen, all it takes is a great season from us and a not so great season from A&M, especially beating them in Kyle Field, and I think that flips around. So, especially with the class that's known to flip, he commits today. I don't think that's a commit. I don't know if Texas has a great season. I don't know if that's a commit that stays.
Yeah. So here's my thing. My thing is more from a football perspective. Again, when it comes to the recruiting, right? We all know how recruiting works. It just takes literally one guy to start to to start to get the ball rolling, right? DJ Sanders is a type of guy where if you get him to commit, you can get the ball rolling on commits coming in 2025 and 2026. Not getting him, it hurts us a lot. Now, what we do know is A&M within the past couple years, and again, I'm not bashing them. I really don't care about what's going on at A&M. I know it's a lot of weird stuff going on at A&M still, very much like it's a whole lot of stuff, and you probably know more about it than me because you point it out and you bring it to my attention. I really more focused on like the schedule we have ahead. I'm kind of worried. I don't really worry about A&M until they lose. Just to be completely honest with you, but that can also do the same thing for A&M. And A&M, I got it. I can't knock them. These last 4 or 5 years, they have been knocking it out the park. Now, have they been able to keep these guys? Have they been able to produce wins? No. Now that is one thing we do know. They have.
That's why I'm not worried.
That's as much as they've been able to get the talent, and they've gotten a lot of talent. I can't remember what year it was, if it was 2022 or 2021.
What was it, like the highest rated recruiting class ever? You know how many guys are still there from that recruiting class?
Like 2.
0.
Everybody
not a single guy from every guy either is gone from the program or they transferred. So I'm not worried. Like,
I get that. It's just for me, it's a situation where, again, you can get, if you get the right guy in there, you get the missing piece or you get the big piece, right?
Yeah,
Khalid Lockett is a great pickup. One, you keep him in the state. He's not that far from home, and he knows that he's going to be able to get some shine. He's seen what he can do. Again, we need that next man up on the defensive side, especially with the absence of Byron Murphy, T'Vondre Sweat. T'Vondre Sweat looks really
interior pressure. Yeah,
that interior pressure. We need that interior pressure. So I'm thinking, maybe with what they did in the past, we'll start to get the attention of possible recruits and get those guys in and get these guys like ready to roll, right? Because obviously what I think everybody's question is now, outside of now CJ Baxter, is what are they going to do in the interior defense? We think everything else that they've got talent on behind them. They've got talent on the ends. What are they going to do? That the strength of that defense for the last couple of years have been that interior, defensive line. I think DJ would have been an absolute stud, and he would have fit right in day one. I think he's a day one starter. I've seen him play. He is nasty. He's got a mean streak, and he's actually very, very nimble. He's not one of those he's not one of those guys that are just to engage you and just kind of plug a space. He can shed tackles left or right. It doesn't matter. He can get up the field. He's very, very athletic. I think he's like a shade under 200, under 300, or like right at 300 pounds.
he is. Keep going. I'll look.
He's if I'm not mistaken, he's like right at 299 or like 300.
He's a big boy. He's 6'4", 325.
Oh, he's 325. Excuse me.
Yeah, he's a big.
To be at 325. Listen, I'm a 350-pound man. I got more than 25 pounds on him. He's moving at the way that he's moving. He looks damn good. And when you have a guy that can move like that, especially at how tall he is, he can do two things. He can disrupt passing because all he literally has to do is put his hands up and swat the ball down. That was one thing that Tavondre was really, really good at. Byron Murphy was also very good at this, was batting passes down. If you're able to, I think didn't Tavondre get an interception off doing that one time, or like a tip ball or something like that. Anyway, when you got defensive linemen that can move around and are nifty like that, it causes problems up and down.
Yeah.
You can't pass and you can't run. That does a lot. So that means you got to get the ball out quicker. That means you got to move quicker and possibly throw off your rhythm. And that one hurts. Again, I know how you feel. You always tell me about flippiness. We have been really good at that. That has been one thing that Texas has been extremely good at over the last couple of years. Is flipping commits, even though they have hard committed early. Texas has been really good at flipping them. Now, do I think that we can flip anybody? If we run into a situation where we are able to actually have a good season, and we're also able to continue to recruit them heavily, which Texas is known for doing, they don't stop recruiting just because somebody hard commits. I do have my doubts about Decorian Moore. I think
that should still.
I think what we've heard. I think that could be fixed. Again, we've talked to Coach Ware. He tell us all the time, like, it's one thing to play in Texas where it's hot in November. It's another thing to be up in the northwest region of the United States, and you got to go play Washington, and it's 40 degrees, and it's October versus being here in October on a Saturday afternoon. It's going to be 92 degrees. That's a very big difference in weather. Weather does play a factor. And, if that doesn't work out in his best interest, he might end up being back here in the state of Texas. It may not be this. It might not even be Texas. It just might be in the South in general. So, that's one thing with Decorian Moore. I do hate that we lost him. I do think that, again, another thing about getting these big-time recruits, it makes the other guys look and be like, okay, what does he know that I don't know? And again, this works for all schools, right? This isn't just the University of Texas. This is Oregon and all these guys that are in the mix. When you get somebody like that, the number 2 receiver, other people start to look and be like, why are you going here? And I think, a thing like that with DJ Sanders, I really hope we're able to flip him. I'm really hoping we can get a space eater anyway. Because we definitely need it, man. That one hurt. And the crazy thing is it leaked. Listen, when it
came out late last night, 11 o'clock.
So it was supposed to come out at midnight.
Yeah.
It came out an hour early. I guess whoever was supposed to leak it leaked it an hour early. So when they leaked it an hour early, I was just like, I was literally staying up just for that in particular reason. Like I was watching the Olympics I was recapping the Olympics and watching all that other stuff. And then next thing you know, that leaks. I was like, I'm not even in the mood, dog. I'm just gonna go to bed. So when
I'm getting used to this new schedule of sleep. So I went to bed at 1 o'clock. I was in the bed.
So when you hit me this morning at 5 and you were like, bro, did you see this leak? I was like, dog, that leaked it out. That leaked last night. And you were like, what? I was like, yeah, dog, that shit pissed me off. I went to sleep, man. I was so bad. But again, congratulations to A&M, man. You got us.
Congratulating those bums.
Hey, listen.
I ain't congratulating those bums. Good luck to DJ. I'm not congratulating A&M.
This one, I'm congratulating DJ because again,
we don't congratulate A&M on this show.
Yeah, congratulations to DJ, man. That kid,
There you go. Much better.
that dude is so athletic, bro. Like,
He's gonna be good. He's gonna be good. Like I said, Kenny Baker. This is one of those things where you take a risk when a guy leaves so late in the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Tiki Hollow in next year's class. If Kenny Baker cannot land Tiki Hollow next year, we're in trouble. And Tiki Hollow is the 5-star. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the 26 class.
Tiki Hollow is
straight from Bastrop. If you cannot land that guy next year,
he's in our backyard, like literally
in our backyard. He is literally 40 minutes from campus.
Like, yeah. Dude, you
then
take
we have the troubles. So we'll give
you're right there at the University of Texas. It's right there.
We'll give Kenny Baker. We'll cut him some slack because he didn't come in until March. But
Yeah,
Hollow,
I mean,
that guy.
We do have to give some credit. Again, like you said, that's a thing. You know, they're gonna talk. There's going to be people are going to continue to reach out to DJ Sanders, just like people are going to reach out to Khalid Lockett. Like it doesn't stop until they put their name on the paper. And even then, it still doesn't stop because they can still transfer. Like Stark said in the SEC, like Stark said in the SEC media days, was so important. He said, not only do we have to continue to recruit, but we have to recruit the kids that we still have that are on our roster. We still have to talk to these kids. We still have to let them know that we want them here. We feel that they are valuable here, or else they will jump in the portal and leave. But Sark is also very, very tight on that and say, hey, if you decide to jump in this portal, ain't no coming back. There's no coming back. I do like this rule. I think there's an opportunity for a lot of people, especially players, to utilize that and say, hey, I want more money. If you're not going to give me any more, I'm going to jump in the portal. And then the team will cave to it or succumb to it. And then they basically use that as a scare tactic. That doesn't fly at the University of Texas with Stark. And I love that about it. So.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got 4 huge guys coming up still.
Yes.
Michael Fitzy, Michael Terry, Jamie French, and surprisingly out of right field, Jonah Williams. So Jonah Williams' recruitment's been nuts. He's been in A&M lean the entire time. There's some real thinking that Jonah Williams could flip to Texas, could end up going to Texas.
Listen,
Williams,
first off,
if we get Jonah Williams, that'll be nuts.
Jonah Williams, 2-star athlete. He wants to play baseball. Oh, this is the perfect place, bro. This is the perfect place. You want to play baseball. You want to play football,
right?
Dog, yep. This is the perfect place to come. He's also. We need a safety. Yep. But listen, I like what we got right now. But if we can add more depth into that defensive backfield, oh my God! And
now, if you get John Williams, he would start with Derek Williams and Xavier Philsimi next year.
Oh, absolutely. And Jonah is tall. He's 6'3". He's 203. But kind of reminds me of a Cam Chancellor. He's a long,
big, bro. Yeah, he's big,
and he will pop you,
bro.
And that's one thing I feel like we have missed that.
He's the best safety in the class.
I feel like since Overshown has left, who was as a safety at one point in time, who eventually transitioned into linebacker, that guy used to lay people out. He used to pop people. He was always around the ball. Him and Jalen Ford were always around the ball, and they're not there anymore. And I'm not saying that's not something that we need, but when you have a thumper on the team and you're able to get these big hits like a Jalen Ford, like an Overshown, that energizes your defense. That energizes your defense.
It also makes the offense think where you throw the ball, right? It makes the shit. I can't go down the middle of the field anymore. Like that's not safe for my receivers.
Right. I'm not trying to get my receivers decapitated. So yeah, like no, it's a big move. Like literally, like, as much as we're like, it has been a lot of negativity and a lot of things going on in regards to recruiting. We have really, really, the University of Texas has really completed and built out this depth chart. Again, there's just a couple of things. This is a key couple of things. This is very third world, like first world problems type situation, right? Oh, we need a defensive.
Yeah,
like, do we have those guys? Do we think that these guys can be very good and be an asset? Absolutely. But we want the best of the best because we're the University of Texas. We want the best. We feel like we should be up there. We want to be nationally recognized. We're starting to get the recognition because we're in the SEC. Like, it's just a perfect storm of everything. And that's you just want to get the best of what we have. So again,
yep.
we
So
will go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say we've got Michael, we've got Jonah Williams, got Michael Terry, get Jamie French, and you get Michael Fasusi. If you get those four guys, this is still a very good recruiting class.
That's
right?
an amazing recruiting class. That's a deep recruiting class.
Very good recruiting class, right? And you add that to the talent that you already have on the roster. And so Michael Fasusi is going to come right in and probably be right tackle, right? I don't think he'll start at left tackle because you got Trevor Gooseby next year. But you got a starting right tackle, which is something you won't have. Michael Terry can come in and he can play a couple different positions. He can play corner, he can play tight end, he can play safety. So there's a couple places he can play. And of course, Jamie French just adds to a wide receiver room that's going to already be absolutely loaded. With Jonte Cook, with Ryan Wingo, with obviously with Khalil Lockett coming in. I mean, there's you just get DeAndre Moore. You just so many Ryan Niblett. There's so many guys that you're stacked at wide receiver. So, but we'll keep you guys updated on recruiting. There's still a lot to happen by the end of this month. By the 31st, we will have a pretty good idea where this wide receiver class or why this recruiting class sits as the season starts. But hey Tim, before we get out of here, we've got to go ahead and get the next part of the preview set up. We got 4 games to review here. We both have us 3-0, 3-0 heading into this one. Is it 3-0 or 4-0? No, 4-0 because we did UNO. Yeah. So we both have it beating Colorado State handily. Michigan, we have it going different ways, but I think we still have us both beating them. About as far as like how the games go, it's a little bit different, but we still have us both winning.
I'm having a little bit of doubt now as far as with this whole situation with Michigan going. I could see this being a situation where they are getting blown out. And the reason why I say that is because, again, if you got things going on and lingering in the background where your head coach could potentially get the death penalty or something very close to it, that can be a really detrimental. And we don't necessarily know. They're talking about doing something prior to the first game. If they're able to do something and some big sanctions come down, that's going to be a big situation because not only is your coach going to be distracted, your players who are at this will still be defending national championships because I don't think they will strip them. Like, I don't think that they will strip Michigan from having that national championship. I think they will just be punished going forward if they're not able to participate in any type of bowl games. You think those kids want to sit there and play out this season and it don't really mean anything? No, I'm going to want to leave. So that I know we're getting on to the other 4. I definitely, if this rolls the way that they are saying it's going to roll, with the NCAA coming down very swift and very hard within the next couple of weeks, this could be a situation where they may not even win 5, 6, 7, 8 games because their guys may just be out of it. And if they don't have the proper coaching there and their head coach is gone, of course, they had some adversity last year, but if they have more adversity with the new coach, then what? I don't know. It
kind of puts their players in a shitty situation.
Absolutely,
because they had the opportunity to transfer out, and now without knowing this information, basically the entire team stays. Right. And if something happens now, it's like, well, hell, I mean, I kind of wasted a year now because I have to play the year out because then I waste a year of eligibility.
Yeah,
Now,
the only thing that can help them out.
Michigan kind of did their players wrong with this thing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure they knew what was going to happen. Sharon Moore knows what's going to happen. Mr. Crybaby on TV. I can never like you're the guy that's part of this, and you're over here crying on TV talking about my coaches. Nah, fam. I hope we go into the big house and we beat them at 50. I hope they get their entire team. Like, I hope man. If they get a punishment, I hope it's something crazy like your players
some people are saying that they might mess around and get the death penalty.
I hope so.
Dog, you can't have another guy posing as a staff member on the opposing team. That's crazy. And you're getting popped because you deleted text messages between you and the guy that was doing the cheating. So if Harbaugh didn't know about it, that means he knew about it and he was the one setting this stuff up. And that
so maybe the thing is Harbaugh didn't know about it. So maybe that's legitimate.
It could be. I believe that it's legitimate? Absolutely not. I think Harbaugh is really he's CYA. He's CYAing right now.
But 55 text messages, bro. Like, that's a lot of text messages. That's like a whole thread.
We got over 5,000 in our text message thread like over 6 years. And we've got 55,000. He's got 50 and one. Is it basically like, hey, you're gonna go do this? It's like very simple text messages, directions, do this. That's what it seems like it is. Directives on where to go and how to get there. And if so, that's nasty. It's already very nasty. It doesn't make college football look any better than it already does right now with the whole NIL situation and everything else going on with that whole thing. So
they're gonna have to do something because now with like money at stake, players getting paid, now the players have to say in all this is like, bro, now you're betting on us. Like you're basically betting on me because you're paying me and you're cheating.
Right. So it's
we'll see how that all unfolds. That's nasty work. But let's move on. We've got 4 games here. Mississippi State, then we got Red River, then we have the big one versus Georgia at home, and then we'll end out with Vanderbilt today. So start out with Mississippi State, home game, Texas's first ever SEC game. Home to Mississippi State against Josh Levy, who's a weirdo himself. So how do you see that Mississippi State game playing out?
I think this game will be played close. I'm not putting up against anything against Mississippi State. They are not these are not scrub teams anymore, right? This is not I don't know. This isn't Colorado of the old Big 12 or Missouri before they popped off or anything like that. This is a legitimate yes. Is it a bottom tier SEC school? Absolutely. Will they still hit you in the mouth? Absolutely. I think we're going to get the best of Mississippi State. However, with it being the first SEC game that Texas will be in, I think Texas will be pumped and their talent will overshine the efforts coming from Mississippi State. So do I think it'll start out? I think it'll start out pretty slow, and I think Texas will eventually pick it up.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that, man. I think Texas blows Mississippi State out. So Mississippi State gets Blake Shapen, right? The quarterback from Baylor.
Right.
Is also coming in the SEC. Josh Levy, who wasn't a great offensive coordinator for Oklahoma, gets the job at Mississippi State.
Right.
So I don't know what he's doing over there. Steve Sarkisian comes in the SEC, is coached in the SEC, has been successful in the SEC. He's going to have his team ready for it. Like, I'm not worried about the big, there's your first. Coach Sark is going to have this team ready to roll, and you're at home. So I think this is going to be a double-digit win for Texas. They win by 10 points, right? But I think it's a 10 points where it's like they get up big and maybe Mississippi State scores a couple times at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I think they handle this game pretty handily.
Okay, listen, that's fair. I personally just think that when you have a team like Texas coming into the SEC, it's the first actual game. Like Mississippi State is going to be pumped. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to want to take their first. Everybody's going to want to say who's going to knock out Texas first. Is it going to be Mississippi State? Is it going to be Georgia? Is it going to be whoever the case may be? So I think again, I think they will give a valid effort to try to knock Texas off, right? Again, I do feel like because we're at home, I think we will see I think our team. I think we will see a different team. Like they will finally be able to walk into this situation and be like, all right, this is the big leagues. Like I think we will see a different mindset, maybe even a different tone. Maybe they have a little swagger, maybe they have, they get out there just a little bit, maybe a little cocky and competitive. You need that. You need that in the SEC. You cannot have
not arrogance, cockiness.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I could see them blowing them out, especially if they get super pumped. But I think that it'll start off as a slugfest and eventually Texas will overthrow them.
Okay, that's fair.
So then we got something very new. Saturday, October 12th, not at 11:30, 2:30.
We have a bye weekend before that, though.
Do we?
We get a bye week before OU this year, which is crazy.
That is interesting. Okay. So we got a bye week. Okay. That's cool. I'll listen. I'll take it.
That's crazy to me. That's insane.
Yeah, it's normally after Oklahoma we get the bye week. So we get the bye week. So that's just the following week. And then the week of October 12th. Because normally it is the first weekend of October. So October 12th, this is all very new to me, guys. I'm still trying to get used to this. At 2:30 instead of 11:30, we get Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. I don't care if you guys don't like what I have to say about that. It's a shootout. It is not a rivalry. It is an absolute shootout. We get Oklahoma. Now, me personally, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Harish. You're probably right up there with me. I don't think this is a situation. Again, I know how rivalries are. I'm not worried about Oklahoma unless one thing happens. There is one thing that needs to happen in order for me to be worried about Oklahoma. If Oklahoma happens to get 10, 14 points in the first quarter, then I'm worried. If Oklahoma does not, if they are not able to put points on the board within the first 2 quarters of this game, I think Texas wins handedly. If Oklahoma puts up 21 by the half, 14 by the half, then I'm going to be a little worried because then that's letting me know that these guys could possibly be overlooking Oklahoma and looking at Georgia and not necessarily paying attention to Oklahoma, which that could be very, very dangerous because you can get down 21, 20, whatever the point, a big lead, you can be down and not be able to recover, and that can get you in a world of hurt. But if Texas is able to keep a steady lead, 7, 10, 14, if they are able to hold a lead, I don't care what quarter it is, if they are able to hold a 3-7 point lead, I'm fine. I think Texas will win this out. As long as they're not scoring those 14, 21 points in the first half, I'm good. There's a lot of, I don't know about you, but there's a lot of stuff going on in Oklahoma as well. Have they named the starting quarterback?
Yeah, Jackson Arnold.
Okay, so Jackson Arnold is the guy
who is
a turnover guy. Like he turns the ball over a lot. I personally,
I don't know if this is a blowout, but
these games.
your first, listen, Red River is a different beast.
Yeah, it's a different ball game. It's a different.
I did. Quinn Ewers won his first Red River 49-0. Like, that is rare that happens in this game.
Not happen.
That is very rare.
It just doesn't.
Quinn basically had no adversity. So, but then you add another element. It's now a 2:30 game, so it's new for everybody. It's now a 2:30 game, right? Which means everybody in the stands is going to be even more drunk. It is now an SEC game, which elevates it even more.
Right.
Oklahoma has to play Tennessee and Auburn before this game. And not only do they have to play Tennessee, they have to go to Auburn. So they've already had 2 SEC games before this game. They get the bye week. Bro, I think Texas Texas is going to remember last year, and they're not going to forget.
Do you think Texas steamrolls Oklahoma? That's the question.
I don't know if they steamrolled them, but I think they win by like 3 touchdowns.
They win
like 17. Like, they win by at least 17.
Do you know the average football game is won by 3 points or less? That is a steamroll.
When you look at like the way teams score these days, like a 37-20 game for the sake of things isn't that crazy. Right. So it's like because or it could be 47-30. Right. Like, that's not like a blow. It's a blowout in the sense of the score, but it's like 47-30 could be like, oh, it was 40-30 and Texas gets a pick 6 on an Oklahoma drive. Right. Like, it's something like that. So like, to me, like, a blowout in this type of rivalry is like what we did to them a couple of years ago.
49-0.
That's a blow. That's not a blowout. Then you just got ran out the damn football field. Like, they ran your ass out.
That's the thing. We were up 21 when Caleb Williams was there and got blasted.
So, I mean, every year except for last year, Steve Sarkisian absolutely jumps on these guys. Right. And you don't know what the offense is because you have a new offensive coordinator, right? Jackson Arnold is a freshman and really only in his like 4th game in the Red River rivalry. It's brand. There's just so much new. I think Oklahoma only wins 5 games this year. Like, I know I said this last year, but their schedule is so hard, bro.
Their schedule. Florida
like,
and Oklahoma have they got gauntlets.
Brutal. Yeah, they really were like, yeah, Oklahoma, we like tagged you along with Texas. Like, we don't really like y'all that much. Y'all just tagged along because we needed Texas. Like, that's how they treated them. So
they start out Temple, U of H, Tulane, Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Maine, Missouri.
Ole Miss.
Listen to this part. Listen to this last couple of weeks, right? November, they're at Missouri. Then they backdoor and then go to November 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving. Or no, I'm sorry, the weekend before Thanksgiving. They have Alabama, and then the week after Thanksgiving, on the 30th, they got LSU as the last game at LSU. And it's right now it could possibly be a night game. If that is a night game, Oklahoma's
last 3 games are night games.
Dog, that's gonna be crazy.
Bro, and then they have to go to Ole Miss.
Right. Yeah.
Where Ole Miss could be fighting for like playoff positioning or maybe like something in the and then that's after having to go play South Carolina after Red River.
Right. Yeah,
bro. They've got a brutal schedule, so they might be 5-7, like maybe 6-6. Like, and I think Brent Venables is going to get fired. Like, I don't realize this year Brent Venables isn't the guy. I know I said that last year.
Something just doesn't sit right with him. And remember, I wanted Brent Venables.
Something is not right. Like, he doesn't fit the program. It was like Jimbo Fisher at A&M. He just doesn't fit the vibe. If Venables was at A&M, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I would have been like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Weirdo coach with weirdo school. Like that makes a lot of sense.
Defensively, from a coordinator's perspective, he's a mastermind. What he had Clemson do,
he's great.
Nasty work. Listen, I wouldn't be opposed to it if he wanted to just do defense. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
You want to get DC from Texas?
I
got Venables as a defense. Don't ever sit in front of the camera. Don't ever talk to them. Don't look at them. Don't sniff them. You just go out there, recruit, and you coach the defense.
Right.
That's what I would say. But we'll see what happens there. I think Texas beats Oklahoma. It should be pretty handily.
I think Texas beats Oklahoma as well. Then we move on to October 19th. That is also a Saturday. Texas versus Georgia. It will be at DKR Stadium. This is a Saturday flex. They're saying either 2:30. Honestly, this is probably going to be a 7 p.m. game. I think it's going to be a 7
p.m. Are undefeated. This will be a night game.
This will definitely be a night game. I think even if Texas had one loss, I still think this would be a flexed night game. They have to do that because, again, you just don't necessarily know. But we know that Texas and Georgia, those two teams are going to be bringing big ratings. They're going to bring in the big dollars. Listen, if Texas gets to 35 to 38 points, they have an opportunity to win this game. To me, that is the only way that they're going to be able to win this game. I don't feel like this. Do I feel like this could be a knockdown, drag him out type situation? Absolutely. One, again, we all know that football is about availability, who's available, next man up situation. The one thing that we cannot afford in the Oklahoma game, we cannot sustain any major injuries. Any nicks and bruises.
Bruises you do with what you can, right?
That's a part of the game.
That's
season ending sprains, stuff like that.
Racing joints, like no.
You need all hands on deck against Georgia. Listen, Georgia they got some real talent. You wouldn't think that they would because you'd be like, man, they lost so much, but they've also got a lot of guys.
Those guys reload, man. That's a reloaded that program. That is the program Texas aspires to be.
They got a lot of freshmen. They had a lot of freshmen last year. They got a lot of sophomores. They got Troy Bowles. They got Roderick Robinson. He's gonna be back. They got Trevor Etienne, who transferred in from Florida.
He transferred from Florida.
He's a junior. Like, they've got just a number. It's so many people. I can't even think. They've got height at DB. They got height at tight end, height at wide receiver. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. They've got a quarterback. Where's the weak point? Tell me where the weak point is on Georgia.
I don't know.
Maybe tight end. Maybe.
Henry Dope is that dude's gonna be really good. And by that time it'll be halfway through. He's gonna be like, I don't know if he's Brock Bowers level, but he's gonna be healthier than Brock Bowers because Brock Bowers couldn't stay healthy for nothing, right? Henry Dope is really good, and he's gonna be able to stay healthy. That dude's gonna be an animal. What do you have for this game?
I think this is where Texas drops the ball.
Yeah, me too. This is where I haven't dropped in a close one though.
Yeah, I don't see them getting completely blown out. I think this is where I don't know if there's a situation where you can fail up. I haven't really seen that in a while. I think this is where Quinn fails up. I think it's the same thing that happened 2 years ago when he was playing against Alabama for the first time. He gets injured, but they really are like, damn, Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback. He can really throw the
Yeah.
ball. I
He
think
plays
this.
well, but Georgia's just that good.
I
Yeah.
think Quinn has his best game of the year, but
Okay.
we come up short. I think we come
Okay.
up short. I don't know if it's a missed opportunity and maybe a wide open touchdown that doesn't get it, maybe a turnover. I don't I'm not gonna put a thing to it. I think comes down to Georgia just has the better team as far as being in these type of situation. They get into a 2-minute drill type situation, march down the field, they kick the field goal, they get out.
That's how I see it happen.
They get out, they get out and they're unscathed. And of course, it is. I do think it'll be a knockdown, drag out type situation. But Carson Beck has been there for how many years? I don't know. Huh?
That's only his second year there.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It is his second year there.
I think it's his third year there. It's his second year starting because they had
right.
They had Carson Bennett before that, or whatever the hell his name was. He's just this is his third or fourth year there. It's just the second year starting.
Right. So he has been there all 4 years. He's a senior this year. But I just feel like that in that case, in those situations, I feel like Carson Beck has been in more of those type of situations than Quinn is at that point in time. And it shows, and that's what ends up winning the game. I think they win by a field goal, or maybe even possibly a touchdown if they, are able to, maybe get some type of over the top play. I really think the only way that Georgia actually beats Texas is by beating them deep. Just the way that we went into Alabama and we literally just ran past the defensive backs and put the ball in the air and let these receivers go get it. I feel like that's the exact same way that Georgia is going to. I feel like that's the only way that they're going to have to beat Texas. They're going to have to expose that defense, and that defense, the weakest point to me is that interior lineman. And if you can't get pressure and you can let those guys kind of sit back there and let Carson Beck just kind of throw it all around, I think you run into no defensive back can guard no defensive back can guard a wide receiver for an extended amount of time. If he can, he's prime time. He's a Champ Bailey. He's a Revis. It doesn't happen. You just can't let that happen. You've got to get the pressure up in the middle. You've got to make Carson Beck move around. And I feel like the only way that Georgia beats Texas is over the top.
Yeah, I think this is one of those where Quinn Ewers plays his best game of the year, but I think it's not good enough because defense does something stupid, right? Like I'm thinking like defense does something dumb like they did against OU type situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they make the worst mistake at the worst time type thing. But they're not able to score a touchdown. They kick a field goal. I think they win like 33-30, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. That's kind of where I'm at right now with that. I don't think that Texas.
There will be multiple opportunities at this. So there will be multiple opportunities at this. Wink, wink.
I feel like this is the most important. I think this is the most. Not necessarily. I think in these type of situations, this is where Sark shines, because again, I feel like, and I've always we've talked about this ad nauseum, like we won't see a lot of stuff until like OU. You know what I'm saying? I think we're going to see a lot of vanilla. It's going to be a lot of simple. A lot of y'all are going to be upset. Why do they keep doing this? Why they keep doing this? Why they keep doing this? I know, because I'm the guy. I'm one of those guys that's like, why don't they open this playbook? We know they're not going to open that playbook until Oklahoma, possibly Mississippi State. So it's just something that we're going to have to deal with. Everything that we're going to see is going to be very, very, very vanilla. I wanted to see exactly what you thought about maybe possibly going to a Colorado State game, because I do think at that point, we will see Arch kind of get some reps in there at the end of the game, because I do think that they will win handed. handedly. But and we'll be able to see Arch get some reps, maybe get some reps at the running back position, get some game time, get those guys, acclimated to the system and how to do things, read blitz packages, clean. But I think Texas will be the most talented team that Georgia will see, just top to bottom, especially from the offensive standpoint. I think they're going to be the most. I think they're going to be the most difficult team that Georgia will face. And again, we know they play the Alabamas and all those guys of the world, but I think this is a really, really special team. I think Georgia will be in for it. I don't think that they'll come in being bragful and boastful. I think they will come in completely understanding what is in front of them. Again, Kirby Smart is not he ain't nobody to just overlook.
These are Nick Saban's two best assistants ever.
Right.
So these two guys know what this game means, and they will make sure that they are now at a maturity level of coaching to where they will both have their teams ready to play this game. Like, this isn't going to be like, this isn't Lane Kiffin, right? This isn't Kiffin. This isn't like, they'll have their teams ready, and they understand what this game is, even if it's just a regular season game. I was actually looking for tickets for this game right now. It's currently listed cheapest tickets $375, which actually isn't bad.
$375?
Yeah, that's a lot cheaper than I thought.
For Georgia or for Colorado State?
For Georgia.
I thought they were going to be in the thousands. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were going to be in the thousands.
Yeah. The longer you wait, the more it's going to be. So I'm trying to decide which games I want to go to. We could probably snag Colorado State. They're only at $30 on Game Time, which shout out to Game Time app. If you want to sponsor us, let us know. But
get us a couple tickets.
UTSA is 46 right now at the cheapest, and then believe it or not, Mississippi State is only at $60 at the cheapest.
I wouldn't be opposed to going to see. That would be kind of monumental, going to see the first SEC game,
the first ever SEC game. So that's the game I'm kind of thinking about. And then I'm also talking to somebody else that might have face value tickets for that game.
Oh, that's dope. That's really dope.
So that'd be even better. So we'll figure it out. I'm also trying to juggle like these games because I'm trying to get with the Horseshoe Mob guys, and we're trying to get a Colts game in Indy this year. So
understood.
Yeah, but we got one more game. We're gonna be Vandy. Like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Vanderbilt. Listen. If I'm
going to Nashville, will be cool.
If I'm Steve Sarkisian, at the end of that game,
when
you beat Vanderbilt,
Quinn and just start Arch.
When you beat Vanderbilt and you go in there and you're talking to the coaches, there's one gentleman that I want you to go and talk to. And that young man's name is Cedric Baxter. I want you to go Cedric Alexander, not Cedric Baxter, excuse me. I was merging running backs. I want you to go and talk to that young man and see what you can do to get that young man in a Longhorn uniform. You need to bring that kid home. He is a star. Is he at Alabama? Could he have gone anywhere? Absolutely. He went to Vanderbilt. I don't necessarily know why. This is the kid that broke the rushing record for the state of or for the city of Austin that had been up for forever. And he, committed to Vanderbilt. And now he is their starting guy. And he looks really good. He had a decent year last year. I think he can be a really, really a big piece. I think he could be a big piece. I think Sark should give him a call and talk to him.
So that's the running back.
Listen, we could use him. He was all freshman in SEC. He played all 12 games. He got over 500 yards purpose. 500 yards all purpose. Like what? Why wouldn't you want that? Like why wouldn't you want that guy on your team? I don't know. It's just a wishful thinking. Bring a kid home. You know how I am. Bring your kids. If you can get them into the University of Texas, you can get them home. Get them home. And now it's easier than ever. They don't have to sit out a year to transfer in. Go get that kid. Add more depth to your running back room. I think that kid can be a special kid. I don't think he's going to be, if he has a breakout year, I don't see him being at Vanderbilt very much longer. So why not go try to be ahead of the game? Be ahead of the curve. Yeah. That's all.
For sure.
I still think that
I feel you on that one. Yeah, we're gonna be Vanderbilt. I don't really even have anything else to say.
Yeah, it's really nothing. I think that's why I mentioned Cedric Alexander, because he is the focal point of the offense. He will be the focal point of the offense going forward, and I think he's the most talented guy on that team. That's why they recruited him from LBJ Austin. So, yeah.
Yep. That puts us both at 6-1 heading into another bye week. Another bye week, and then we get Florida at home to start November. So
that's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting game.
It's going to be a very interesting game because if DJ Lagway, Florida's either going to be really good.
Are they going to
be DJ Lagway, or they're going to be really bad, and DJ Lagway is just going through freshman woes, right?
Right.
But he is going to be their starter, so it'll be interesting to see where they are at that point. But hey, we'll talk about that next week. Before we get out of here, Tim, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Tim Wayne. Listen, we're getting closer to the college football season. I was watching a little bit of the preview of the. I know you know some people are not necessarily preseason guys. I'm a preseason guy. I like watching preseason football. We got some Longhorns playing on that preseason game. I'm gonna go check the highlights, see what they did. Maybe throw some videos up there. Jatavian Sanders looks like a monster, straight up.
Yeah, is he looking good? He's looked good in camp. I didn't see him play today.
So the game was playing while we were recording, but prior to that, he has been a camp standout for sure. So I'm excited to see what he does. Also, we got Madden coming out next week. I definitely plan on playing again. I want to maybe do a franchise with a bunch of guys that, maybe I can go to Denver, the University of Texas at Denver. Denver seems to have all the Texas Longhorns out there. So, I might go start a franchise with Denver. Having Bo Nix. But yeah, we got a lot.
Bo Nix is terrible. He's going to be horrible.
Hey man, we don't know. He was in college for like 8,000 years, so he might actually be good.
He's going to be horrible.
We don't know, man.
Bro. There's never been like a guy that's been in college for like 8 million years and came back and like did well in the NFL.
I mean, never man, it's a first time for everything, man. Where can they find you, dog?
You don't need to find me at Broncos training camp because I definitely won't be there. But you can find me at on Twitter at the Uncle Gandhi. Of course, find us both on Twitter at Longhorn at LH Fan Battle. Madden early release next week. College football patch out today. Enjoy it. Between now and then, my name's Harish. That's my guy Tim Wayne. We out of here. Peace.
Go Gabriel.
Go home. Touchdown like an end zone.